You might have heard the phrase, honesty is the best policy. But have you ever considered, under some circumstances, diplomacy could be the best policy? Let me tell you about a classmate of mine. He had a girlfriend who he used to love very dearly. However, the conversation sometimes went absurdly awkward. One day, they were talking to each other, they were talking in a very romantic way, and at one stage, my classmate wanted to tell her how beautiful she was. To explain her beauty, he said, "You know what? You are so beautiful. You are so beautiful that you deserve not one, you deserve two boyfriends." He said this to explain her beauty. Now, this was an awkward situation for the girl. She did not know how to react, whether to be happy or to be sad or to say nothing. There was a pin drop silence for a moment, and after a while, she stood up and walked away. My classmate was very disappointed at this. However, he did not realize what blunder he had made. After a few days, they again met. This time, he had somehow realized he made a blunder. Now he wants to fix it. This time, they were talking again. They got very romantic. At one stage, he wanted to fix this, and he said to her, "You know what? When I look at you in the eye, you remind me of an angel." She got extremely emotional and said, "Which angel do I remind you of?" He said, "When I look at you in the eyes, you remind me of Malakul Maut, the angel of death." Now, what he meant was he loved her so dearly that he wanted to be with her not only this life, in life hereafter also. What it seemed he meant was she was utterly ugly. At this, she went extremely furious. She broke up with him. She stood up and walked away instantly. At this, he was devastated. Still, this idiot did not understand what he had done wrong. When I came to learn about this, without realizing what he went through, I called him an idiot and I wanted to change his behavior. However, since I called him an idiot, he went furious and he did not want to talk to me. He cursed me, he swore at me, as a result of which I became furious and I did not talk to him ever after. I let it go. Next day, I had a counting exam. The exam was at 8 o'clock in the morning. I woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning, so obviously I was late. As soon as I looked at the clock, I jumped out of my bed, I freshened myself up and rushed to school. By the time I arrived to my school, I was already half an hour late. I rushed to my classroom, sought permission from my teacher to enter the classroom, and my teacher looked at his watch and said, "Wahidullah, you are half an hour late. You must go seek permission from your headmaster." Now, those of you who have studied accounting or at least know a bit about accounting, you know how precious every single minute is when it comes to your accounting exam. You can mess up the entire balance sheet in the blink of an eye just because you didn't have time. However, there was nothing I could do about this but to go seek permission from my headmaster. I climbed down the staircases and I walked toward the room of headmaster. And I saw two friends of mine standing outside the room. And I asked them, "What are you doing?" They said, we were late just like you." I was happy in the sense that I was not the only person that was late. There are other people too. We three walked into the room. Our headmaster looked at us and asked us, "Why are you late?" Now, to give a bit of hint about these two friends of mine, let me tell you that they were extremely good at telling lies and making up stories instantly. On the other hand, I wasn't good at it. So now the first friend of mine starts giving excuses, who was quite fat and heavy. He starts giving excuses in a childish manner. "Sir, my clothes were in a suitcase." Headmaster asks, "So what?" As I was about to pull, and the suitcase was over the almirah, and as I was about to pull the suitcase, it fell over me. The suitcase was over me. I was underneath the suitcase for half an hour until my mom came and pulled me out. Out of curiosity, I asked him, "Was it as fat and heavy as you?" The one in the middle said, "Wahidullah, you just shut up. We are in trouble. Don't you see that?" And I realized that, yes, we are in trouble. I shouldn't be asking too many questions. But I was amazed at how quickly he made that story up and made it so convincing. Now, the second friend of mine starts giving excuses. He tells our headmaster that, "Sir, I have loose motion. I've been suffering from dysentery for past few days. As I was heading out in the morning for school, the motion went crazy. My white pants were no longer white in the back. It turned yellow and I had to turn back home." I again was very amazed. He made up the story so quickly, and then it was my turn. The headmaster turns at me and asks me, "Why are you late?" And I could not come up with a story. I said, "Sir, I could not wake up in the morning. That's why I was late." He was happy that I spoke the truth. However, he was disappointed at the way how I said it. He said, "Son, I'm happy that you spoke the truth. However, you need to know how to say it." And he turned to the other two and said, "I know that you lied, but next time I do not expect you to lie again." However, he granted us permission to take the exam. We took the exam, and when I was returning home, I was thinking to myself what our headmaster meant by "you need to know how to say it." After much thinking, I realized, had I said to my headmaster that, "Sir, I studied until late night. That's why I did not have much time to sleep. And I woke up late. This won't happen again." That would have been a much better way of saying, instead of saying, "Sir, I could not wake up in the morning." Had I said to that classmate of mine who got dumped by his girlfriend because of his nonsensical behavior, had I told him that, "Maybe, friend, you are being very naive. There are things that we can discuss," maybe he would have opened himself up to me, and maybe I would have been able to change his behavior. But I did not do that. Of course, it is important to be truthful. However, we need to know how to say it. In in our job interview, there is one obvious question that we come across is, "What is your biggest weakness?" Do you really think that if you say that I cannot handle multiple tasks, it will add value to our personality? Instead, if you say that I focus on one task at one time so that it takes shorter time and it's flawless, that would have been a much better way of saying it, and it would add strong personality. Honesty is the best policy. Again, diplomacy is required when your honesty leads to a conflict or trouble. It is always good to be diplomatic instead of being rude. Being able to talk artistically requires practice and time. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't matter what you say. All that matters is how you say it. And you will be judged on the basis of how nicely you speak. Over to you, Toastmaster of the evening.